Hello, and welcome everybody to another episode of Purposely Vintage, where I bring you topics of homesteading, biblical viewpoints, vintage ideas, and more. So, in today's episode, I would like you to consider the question of what keeps you from being productive. So, what keeps you from getting up and having that go and being productive, and at the end of the day feeling like that you have accomplished something? So stick around and let's chat. Hello, everyone. And as I stated in the intro, we're going to talk about productivity in this episode. So before I even get into it, I want to let you know that I don't have percentages. I am not a professional. I am coming at this from a personal experience. And the reason why I felt to do this episode today was because here in Maine, we have winter, and winter usually lasts about 5 to 6 months. And it can be very dark, it's very long, it's cold, and many times I, as an individual, struggle with the get up and go to be able to do things. I want to stay in my PJs all day. I just want to not do anything because it's so dark and it's so cold. And I began to think about that. How can I be more productive? And I don't usually make New Year's resolutions. Not that kind of person. I've tried it in the past and it just never worked out for me. However, I really do feel like that being productive is something that I want to do better at. And I'm not always very good at it. And I'm going to bring to you some of the things that I feel have helped me. Now, it's not going to be a 10-step method and you're going to reach productivity. It's not going to be any of that. I'm just going to bring to you the things that I have experienced with because I feel like I want to be relatable to anybody out there who's dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with. So first off, like I mentioned, I want to stay in my PJs. What keeps me from being productive? It's days when it's really dark out and I feel like I just want to stay in my PJs and lounge all day. That is not to say that there are some times when you want to do that. Like my birthday's coming up and I really wanted to stay in my PJs and just watch a movie and have breakfast in bed. However, I am working that day in the morning, so I can't do that. But if I wasn't working, I probably would be in my pajamas. I probably would be just cuddling up in bed with my cats and reading a good book or watching a good movie while I'm having breakfast, watching the news, whatever. But like I said, I have to work, so that's not going to happen. But there are days when I feel like I want to do that. And if I am to be productive, I have to get dressed. Now, I know that seems like maybe just such a simple thing, but it makes a huge difference when you actually get out of your PJs and you get dressed. There's something about getting dressed, putting your hair up. If you wear makeup, I don't, but if you wear makeup, putting maybe a little bit of makeup on, putting something on this, not really, really nice if you're going to be doing house chores, but you want to look good. You want to, prepare yourself for the day. And believe you me, it does make a huge difference. Actually getting up, making the bed is another thing. Just came to my mind that I hadn't written down. Making your bed, getting your bedroom all in order, making that bed, getting dressed. Those are some of the things that help me to feel like I'm being productive. But I'm asking, what are things that keep you from being productive? And one of those things is staying in your PJs, not making your bed, not preparing, having your mind, just not being there for the beginning of the day. Another thing for me, now I don't want to label people because I can't stand labels, to be honest. But last year, I think it was last year, my daughter, she had some attention problems when she was growing up, and she always wondered what it was. And she found this book that talked about ADHD, and she was reading it, and she's like, Mom, this is what is going on with me. It's like my brain is constantly going every which way, and I just can't focus, and, things like that. And so as she's telling me these things, I'm realizing that that is what is happening to me. It's like I will be in a conversation with someone, and I will never finish that sentence. I'll jump to another sentence, or I'll jump to another topic. And it's like my brain is going, it's like it's on fire, just kind of running 100 miles an hour. And so for me, with that kind of situation going on in my mind, when I look at a task sometimes, if it is so overwhelming, I don't even want to start. I just don't want to start. And so sometimes those tasks that are really big tasks keep me from being productive, because I look at it and I'm like, this is just too much. I can't even start because I feel like that it's too big of a project for me to even begin. And I have that a lot when I'm doing a sewing project. For instance, I need to sort out my pantry today. And so how do I solve that? How do I go about, okay, this task is really big. What do I do? I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break that down. And today, doing my pantry, for example, let's do the bottom shelf. Maybe we do 2 shelves, and that's all we do today, because that is as much as I can handle. Maybe if you start into that, you realize, well, it's actually not as big as I thought it was going to be, and then you just keep going. And sometimes that helps you to motivate yourself to keep going. And motivation is the word for today. When you get dressed, when you make your bed, when you break a task down, you motivate yourself to keep going. You motivate yourself to, okay, I can do this. And so that is the next thing for me, is if a task is too large, I have to break it down. Or if I'm in a mood where I'm going through menopause, and so if any of you ladies out there know what that's like, yeah, you can relate. And sometimes you just don't feel like doing anything because of your mood, because of your mindset. And you have to break things down in a small way. You have to break it down into baby steps. So I do the first 2 shelves, or maybe I only do 1 shelf, or maybe I only do 1 cabinet that I'm going to clean it out completely. I'm going to take everything out, wash it down, put everything back, and it's done for the day. 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops, and that's it. And I'm done with that task for the day. And so you move on to something else. The other thing that I feel like keeps me from being productive is the loss of time. And especially if you are lounging around the house and you're in your pajamas and you're just kind of doing nothing. And then you realize all of a sudden that 2 or 3 hours have gone by and you've got nothing done. So for me, now this is me again, I'm coming from a personal perspective. I'm the planner kind of person. I have to have a planner. I have to write down. Now, when I say write down, I don't mean minute by minute, hour by hour. I don't get that technical, but okay, today's Monday. What am I going to get done on Monday? For example, I'm going to today change the sheets. I'm going to vacuum my house. I'm going to mop. I'm going to sort the pantry out in small steps. Maybe I do, a shelf or 2. I'm going to clean out my pressure canner. I need to get that done. There were a couple of other things. So I'm writing out Monday I do this, Tuesday I do this, Wednesday, and etc. So I have to plan out. And then when I see, oh yeah, I got vacuuming done today, I got the sheets changed today, I got the pantry sorted today, I can check those off. And it helps you to feel productive. It helps you, okay, yes, I got that done today and I feel great. And maybe you reward yourself. Maybe you cleaned out those 2 shelves in the pantry. You take 10 minutes, have a snack, have a cup of coffee, maybe do something. I wouldn't advise getting into a movie, but maybe you read a chapter or 2 of a book and you take a break. And then you go to your next task. So the next one on my list is intimidation. Now, you may think intimidation, oh my goodness, what do you mean by that, right? You feel intimidated because, and now this is my mind that I'm talking about, I'm a perfectionist. So if I'm in a sewing project, that sewing project has to be perfect. Stitches have to be done. Certain things have to be done the right way. And believe you me, I have had sewing projects that I've begun that I realized it was more than I could handle, and I'm making mistakes, I'm messing up, and I threw the whole project in the trash. And I have done that several times where I started on a dress, I started on an outfit, and it just was not coming together. And because I'm a perfectionist, I like things done a certain way, I felt intimidated by it and threw it away, or I feel intimidated by the project because I feel like it's too big and I just don't even begin at all. Or I put that project away because I don't feel like I want to start it because I'm too intimidated by it. Now, as a seamstress, I make historical clothing, and I'm not historically accurate, but I like historical clothing. I like to wear it. I like to make it. But there have been some outfits that I felt so intimidated by, I did not even bother. It's like, nope, I'm not going to do this. How do I solve that? How do I solve being intimidated by a project, whether it is a sewing project, whether it is a project you might be doing at work? Break it down. Break it down into small pieces. Educate yourself about a certain avenue or a certain perspective that you're going to be going at this with. As in me being a seamstress, okay, I don't know how to do this certain step, so I'm going to educate myself about it. I'm going to learn in small, easy steps how to do this certain thing that I have to do with this sewing project. And then you come back to it with a new mindset, with a new perspective. And you're like, okay, I don't feel so intimidated by this anymore. And I'm going to go forward with it. On other things like cleaning your house or having a certain atmosphere in your house, we can be intimidated by social media. And so I'm kind of skipping down a couple in my list. But social media can cause us to be intimidated. If you are a person who goes on Pinterest and Instagram like me, I go on different social media sites, and you look at something and you're like, man, I'd really like to have my home look like that. You're already comparing yourself to that person, and you're already allowing intimidation to enter into your mind. And I'm not saying all, but some of those pictures you're seeing on Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all that, they're not real. AI is incorporated in that, or you're seeing what the person wants you to see, but you don't see the dirty dishes in the background and all the mess that's in the rest of the house. You're seeing this one little corner of their place, and I'm not saying all people are like that, but some of it is like that. And so you're already allowing intimidation to enter into your mind. You're already allowing yourself to be drawn back from productivity. So in the case of wanting to do a project in your house, go back to what I said before, baby steps. Make it your own cozy little spot. Don't compare yourself or be intimidated by others who are on social media who have their own idea. You might take a little, a few tidbits from that, but make it your own. Make it your own project. Make it your own little cozy space. Create an atmosphere in your home that is for you, not compared to what somebody else has. So social media can be a little bit of a drawback when it comes to being productive. We have a farm in Central Maine. It's a 6-acre farm, Crazy Times Farm. And I follow a lot of people that are homesteaders. And yeah, I may take a few tidbits from their videos. I may take a few ideas. But our farm is our farm. And we're working our farm to be productive the way we need it to be. And so I don't tend to be intimidated by other people I follow as far as homesteaders and stuff in some ways. But there are other ways I allow myself to be intimidated. Like, I should be making my own bread. I should be doing these things. I should be doing this and that. And I need to step back from that and say, no, I want to get to that where I'm making bread, for my family and I'm doing all those things. But I've got to take it in small steps. And I hope this is making sense to somebody out there. I'm trying to get it from my brain through the microphone out to you, my audience. But we do allow social media to intimidate us. When we see different videos on, and we might start comparing ourselves to, oh, I'd like to look that way, or I want my home to look like that. And it isn't always possible. And so we already are having drawbacks. We're already being intimidated by that. Don't let that happen. And so, yeah, bringing back to one of the things I had before social media was comparison. So we compare ourselves to people that we see on social media. Maybe we compare ourselves to people we have in our lives who have certain things and their home looks a certain way every time you come over. Believe you me, that's not actually how it looks 24/7. If you come to my house, you're going to see dog hair on the floor. You're probably going to see dishes in the sink. There's going to be dust that you could grow potatoes in, probably. So it's not always going to be as pretty or as put together as you might think. And that can thwart our productivity if we allow ourselves to be intimidated and we allow ourselves to be comparing ourselves with other people. And so it's a really big struggle with some people to be productive. The other thing that I want to bring in, and now when I say this, I'm not saying that in this situation there's a cure always for it, but one of the things I think that keeps us from being productive is depression. And my sister-in-law actually deals with this. Now, she doesn't deal with it on a daily basis, but there is something called seasonal depression. And here in Maine, where the winters are really long and the days can be really dark, there needs to be a way that you can combat that. And I'm not saying depression that you don't need some medication or something like that, But in seasonal depression, there are ways that you can treat that without having to go on medicine or without having to, be medicaled up or whatever. Get into a place where if the sun is shining, sit in your chair and sit in the sun for a few minutes. Get a sun lamp. They have those lamps where you can sit under them and you can get the vitamin D that you need each day. And here in Maine, we need to up our vitamin D in the winter, and it can be a real battle. Seasonal depression is a real thing. Depression is a real thing. And there are so many people out there who are dealing with that, and that causes you to not be productive. It causes you to not even want to get out of bed some mornings and not want to do anything. And there are ways that we can combat that, whether it's medicinally, whether you treat it with holistic methods, whether you create a space where you can, okay, I'm going to go sit in this space for a few minutes. I'm going to get myself together. I'm going to really try to encourage myself. And I hope this is making sense. But those are some ways that you can fight that depression. And that is definitely one of the things that keeps people from being productive. And so as I was thinking about how I can be productive, I'm having to change a few things. So for example, I got away from this, but I want to get back to it. Going to bed at the same time every single night will help you. Getting up at the same time every single morning will help you. And those may be really small steps, but it makes a huge impact. Getting up, getting dressed, making your bed, these are things that will help you to be productive. And again, I'm not professional. I don't have a PhD in anything. I haven't been to school for it. I don't have percentages to show you, anything like that. I'm just coming at it from a personal perspective. These little things. With the social media. On Mondays, I don't turn social media on. I don't even watch the news on Mondays because Monday for me is the day when I can get my house cleaning done, where I can get my podcast recorded, where I can do different things. And if I am focused on social media, I am focused on listening to the news, I get distracted with certain things, then I'm not going to be productive on that day. And I really, really need to be productive. Getting dressed, making your bed. And I know I'm repeating some of these things, but it is really, really important to just take those small baby steps and get up, get going. Encourage yourself. Read something encouraging. Listen to an encouraging podcast. Put on some music that will help you to get up and get going. Be sure to be taking the supplements that you need. Eating healthy. These are all different things that will help you to be productive. When you're not eating healthy, that affects you mentally. When you're not getting up, getting dressed, taking care of yourself, that can keep you from being productive. Comparing yourself to others and being intimidated by other people or tasks that you feel like are too big, break it down. Try to do things in small implements. So I hope that this has helped a little bit, and I hope that I've been able to bring it across where it can encourage you. It can bring some insight into, I can get these things done. I can be more productive in 2026. And I hope that it helps somebody out there. So thank you so much for listening to each and every one of my episodes that I bring across on Purposely Vintage. And right now, I don't have too many because I restarted my podcast, but I'm hoping to go the long haul with this time, breaking it down, doing a podcast episode when I can, and I'm hoping to get it where I'm doing one every single week. That is my goal. But I appreciate so much I want to show appreciation to so much to those who are listening to my podcast, who support. And if you want to see me on YouTube, you can find me over and look up Virginia Jones. You can find me over on YouTube. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram. And I will put all those down in the description box anyway. But thank you so much for listening. And I will chat with you in the next episode.